Blake Christian is a partner at Holthouse Carlin Van Trigt. Blake, great to see you once again.
Great to see you, Mike.
Look, there's been talk of both long-term and short-term capital gains being taxed at very high federal rates by the new administration. Can you tell us any more about this and any likely timing?
Right. Well, during the debates and the campaign, President Biden made it pretty clear that he was going to emasculate the Trump 2017 Tax Act and get rid of a lot of the tax benefits that he provided and stimulated the economy in quite a good way. And a couple of the core things is to tax capital gains at a much higher rate, as you mentioned. And so that would take us on, for short-term capital gains, those 12 months or less, that they would get raised from the maximum of 40.8%. Those would go up to 43.4, and he would do the same. He would not differentiate. Long-term capital gains would get taxed at that same rate, and they'd go from 23.8 up to 43.4. So you'd have less impact from the short term, but the long term, essentially, go up about 80%.
Tell us about the Opportunity Zones program and its benefits.
So the Opportunity Zone program, again, came in the 2017 Tax Act. The good news here is that the Biden administration likes the program. It actually had its genesis in the Obama administration. A lot of the architects of the program were in the Obama administration. It's very bipartisan, so it's going to be around. Both Biden as well as Harris like the program because it helps the inner cities. So the idea of the program, it's kind of almost a Robin Hood setup where you're but in reverse, you're untaxing the rich and moving the benefits to the poor. So over 8,700 census tracts, which generally consist of a population somewhere between 10,000 and 15,000 people. So they're just these gerrymandered blocks. Could be multiple city blocks. In rural areas, it could be hundreds of acres. Or hundreds of square miles even. So these census tracts that have high poverty rates and other economic challenges to the residents were identified. The governors were allowed to pick those from a larger group, and provided an investor rolls capital gains that they have, either short-term or long-term, that can be from anything: stocks, bonds, cryptocurrency. You could sell a business, you could sell artwork, whatever generates a capital gain. You can roll it into an Opportunity Zone fund, and there's a bunch of public ones around. And you can also even set up your own, which is mainly what I do, and I've set up about 85 for high net worth individuals. And you roll the money in, you don't pay tax on that gain until December 31st, 2026 is when it matures, and then you pay tax in 2027 on that gain that you deferred. In between, as long as you've held the fund for 5 years, you get to increase your basis in the investment by 10%. So if you had $1 million gain, you get a 10% basis bump after 5 years, and you pay tax on $900,000 instead of $1 million in 2027. On the real juice out of the program happens if you hold the fund and the underlying assets for 10 years. And once that happens, all of that gain, in my example, the $1 million that you rolled, let's say that ends up going to $10 million. You have a $9 million gain. For federal purposes, that gain goes poof. You never pay federal tax on it. and all but 4 states in the U.S. follow the same rules, and you would get that exemption for state tax purposes too. And there's no limit as to how large that gain can be. So I really like using the program for operating businesses because you're going to have a lot more appreciation potential in an operating business where, you might get a 1,000% return rather than, a good real estate project might give you 10% a year, and so you more than double your investment after 10 years. It's good, but it's not as exciting as a operating business.
Have there been any changes or extensions announced as a result of COVID-19 just creating havoc?
Well, funny you should ask. So about 2 weeks ago, the second COVID extension for Opportunity Zone investing came through, which we were happy. It actually was, came through, I think, on the night before Biden took office, and so the IRS released relaxation rules that allows you more time to invest the money into an Opportunity Zone fund. And so most people with 2020 gains and some 2019 gains even have until at least March 15th of 2021 to reinvest, and the vast majority will have until September 10th of 2021 to reinvest that money. And that the requirement, to get the initial deferral is just to put it in the Opportunity Zone fund. If you set up your own, you still, under the new rules, you can have up to 55 months after you put the money into that fund to find appropriate investments, whether it be a real estate deal, whether it be an operating business, or other qualifying assets.
Can you tell us how the program can be used to shelter maybe short-term capital gains associated with activities such as stock trading and crypto speculation?
Right. We've seen a lot of that, and it used to be a little bit of a kind of a fringe investment strategy. A lot of our clients weren't doing it, but now it's become pretty mainstream that it's not unusual for clients to approach us and say, hey, I just made $500,000 in crypto, or I've been day trading because I'm sitting at home and have more time to watch the market, and I've made $1 million over the last 6 months. And as you mentioned, people are churning their accounts, they're trading more rapidly, which results in the short-term gains. And so, as I mentioned earlier, since the rate risk that it's going to climb in 2026 when you're going to pay this tax, that spread is a lot thinner on a short-term capital gain. So we really like to put short-term capital gains into the Opportunity Zone funds because there's very little rate risk. We're still, the majority are long-term capital gains just because the taxpayers have held them a long time, but we're getting a whole lot of interest from the short-term traders. So we've set up a lot at year-end with crypto.
Now, I would imagine your middle name is Opportunity Zones. If somebody wants, because you know so much about it, if somebody wants to talk to you about Opportunity Zones and how to make the most out of what's happening at the moment with the Biden administration and securing your future and just doing good business, how will they get hold of Blake Christian?
The easiest way, Google Blake Christian CPA, and you'll get all my contact information. All my articles will pop up. You can reach me via text or a call at 562-305-8050.
And just finally, unscripted, just in one word out of 10, or one word only, a rating for the Biden administration from your point of view.
I was afraid you were going to ask that. I would give him a solid 5 at the moment.
All right, Blake Christian, we'll have to ask you that again next week or later this week. In fact, thank you very much.
Thank you. Great to see you.